You never know who's paying attention, and sometimes the people who work the hardest are the ones who go unnoticed. But not this time. Stick with us as we dive into an inspiring tale of generosity, gratitude, and the power of simply recognizing someone's effort. The Grand Manhattan Hotel stood as a symbol of luxury in the heart of New York City, attracting elite guests from around the world. Its grand chandeliers, polished marble floors, and soft jazz created an atmosphere of sophistication, ensuring every traveler experienced first-class service. Among the staff ensuring this seamless experience was Michael Carter, the night shift concierge. Though not wealthy, he took immense pride in his work, knowing his role contributed to the hotel's impeccable reputation. At midnight, he stood behind the concierge desk, dressed in a sharp uniform, maintaining his warm smile and professional demeanor despite the late hour. The night shift brought unpredictable moments, urgent guest requests, last-minute VIP arrivals, and unique challenges requiring discretion. Whether assisting a frantic traveler, retrieving a lost diamond earring, or arranging emergency accommodations, Michael handled each situation with patience and precision. Unlike others who saw the job as temporary, he believed in genuine service, preferences, and small details that elevated their experience. But outside the hotel, Michael's life was far from luxurious. After each shift, he returned to his small Queens apartment, where he cared for his elderly mother, Linda. Once vibrant, she now relied on him for everything: medical needs, groceries, and support. Financial stress and exhaustion weighed on him, but he never let it show at work. Tonight, as he sipped his coffee and scanned the lobby, he noticed the usual late-night arrivals: business travelers, exhausted families, and guests returning from high-end events. Then, amidst the opulence, a quiet figure entered: Barron Trump. 17 and already towering over most, Barron moved with quiet confidence, dressed simply in a hoodie and jeans. Unlike many high-profile guests, he didn't seek attention or treat staff as invisible. Instead, he observed the hotel's inner workings, seemingly more interested in the people than the luxury around him. Michael noticed the difference immediately. As Barron approached the concierge desk, Michael greeted him with a polite smile. "Good evening, sir. How can I assist you?" Unbeknownst to him, this night would spark a series of events that would change both their lives forever. As Barron Trump approached the concierge desk, he didn't expect much. He had spent his entire life in some of the world's most prestigious hotels. He had seen concierges who were stiff and formal, trained to please but never to engage. Others were cold and distant, treating their role as a transaction: solve the guest problem and move on. But something about Michael Carter seemed different. Michael stood with a relaxed but attentive posture, his crisp black suit neatly pressed, a genuine, warm smile on his face. His deep brown eyes held no trace of judgment or intimidation, something Barron had become used to whenever people recognized his last name. But Michael wasn't looking at him like a Trump. He was looking at him like any other guest, and that was something Barron quietly appreciated. "Good evening, sir. How can I assist you?" Michael asked, his tone polite but natural. Barron hesitated for a second, then placed his hands on the edge of the desk. "I was just wondering," he started, glancing toward the grand chandelier-lit lounge, "who cleans the hotel at night?" Michael blinked, momentarily surprised by the question. Most guests only cared about the comfort and presentation, not about the people behind the scenes. "That would be the overnight cleaning crew," Michael replied smoothly. "They start after most guests have gone to bed. Hard-working team." Barron nodded, processing the answer. He had spent his life surrounded by luxury, but he had also grown up with a mother who instilled a deep respect for hard work and discipline. He had seen how the people in the background, the security, the drivers, the chefs, were often the ones who made things run smoothly. He had never really thought about who kept places like this spotless while the world slept. Michael studied Barron's face, sensing that the young man was genuinely curious. He didn't have the air of someone making idle conversation or trying to sound impressive. He was paying attention, and that was rare. "I can introduce you to them if you'd like," Michael offered after a moment. Barron raised an eyebrow. "You would?" Michael smiled. "Of course. They don't get much recognition, but they're some of the most dedicated workers in the building. If you're interested, I could show you how the hotel really runs at night." Barron tilted his head slightly, considering the offer. Most people wouldn't have entertained his question, brushing it off with a vague answer. But Michael had taken him seriously, offering him a behind-the-scenes glimpse of a world most guests never thought about. "Yeah," Barron said finally, a small smile forming at the corner of his lips. "I'd like that." Michael nodded. "Give me about an hour. When things settle down, I'll take you on a tour. Meet me here at 1 a.m. Barron checked the sleek Rolex on his wrist, then looked back up at Michael. "Okay, see you then." As Barron turned to leave, Michael watched him go, intrigued. He had served hundreds of VIP guests, but something about Barron Trump felt different. He wasn't just another entitled rich kid, demanding service without a second thought. He was observing, questioning, thinking. And that, Michael knew, meant he was the kind of person who could truly appreciate what happened behind the curtain of luxury. Michael Carter had mastered the art of hospitality. The warm smile, the effortless charm, the ability to make every guest feel like the center of the universe. He had learned to read people instantly, who craved small talk, who demanded silent efficiency, and who carried unspoken burdens. What no one knew was that Michael carried his own burdens, far heavier than most could imagine. After years of working in some of New York's most prestigious hotels, he had earned a reputation for excellence. Guests and staff admired his composure, quick problem-solving skills, and ability to handle even the most difficult clients with grace. But behind his polished exterior, Michael lived a different reality. He wasn't just a concierge at the Grand Manhattan Hotel. He was a single father, a caretaker, and a man struggling to stay afloat. At home, his 6-year-old son Elijah waited for him each night, often staying up late just to see him for a few moments before sleep claimed him. Elijah was bright and curious, but his severe asthma had sent him to the emergency room more times than Michael cared to count. Every visit came with a bill that stretched his paycheck thinner, forcing him to choose between rent and medication. His ex-wife, Danielle, had left 2 years ago, choosing a life that didn't include raising a child. Since then, it had been just Michael and Elijah, navigating life together. Michael had become everything: father, mother, provider, protector, all while working overnight shifts that drained him but left him no choice. Despite his struggles, he never let them show at work. When a wealthy guest snapped their fingers at him, he responded with calm professionalism. When others complained about trivial inconveniences, he swallowed his frustration. They would never know what it was like to ration groceries or pray that Elijah wouldn't have another asthma attack before payday. Michael believed in hard work, respect, and perseverance, values his father had instilled in him. But no matter how many extra shifts he picked up, it was never enough. He lived paycheck to paycheck, balancing his finances like a tightrope walker without a safety net. The irony wasn't lost on him. He catered to guests who spent thousands on luxury suites, who wore designer watches worth more than his annual salary, and who barely noticed him as he held open their doors. Meanwhile, his own life was filled with secondhand clothes for Elijah, late-night pharmacy runs, and a constant fear of financial ruin. He had always kept his struggles separate from his job. Until tonight. Something about his conversation with Barron Trump unsettled him. The teenager's curiosity wasn't forced or performative. He genuinely wanted to know about the people working behind the scenes. That kind of awareness was rare among the wealthy guests Michael encountered, and it made him wonder, if someone like Barron Trump could notice, why didn't more people? As Michael prepared for his late-night tour with Barron, he found himself pausing for the first time in years, reflecting on what it meant to be invisible in plain sight. He wasn't looking for pity or a solution, but deep down, he longed for someone to see him, the man behind the uniform, behind the polite smile. Little did he know that acknowledgement was coming, and it would change everything. Barron Trump had grown up surrounded by luxury, but unlike many in his world, he paid attention to the people behind the scenes. His parents had taught him that privilege came with responsibility, not just in wealth, but in how one treated others. As he followed Michael Carter, the night concierge at the Grand Manhattan Hotel, on a behind-the-scenes tour, Barron was struck by the way the man carried himself. He wasn't just doing a job, he took genuine pride in keeping the hotel running smoothly. But what stood out even more was the exhaustion in his eyes, visible only when he thought no one was looking. Barron noticed the small things, the way Michael rubbed his temples when he was out of sight, the stiffness in his movements, the careful way he spoke, always polite yet restrained. It was the look of someone carrying burdens far heavier than his uniform. Then came the moment that changed everything. As they passed the staff entrance, Barron saw Michael check his phone. His composed expression softened, revealing something more vulnerable. Curious, Barron glanced at the screen. A text conversation with a young child. "Elijah, hey Dad, did you take your break yet?" "Michael, not yet, buddy, almost. You doing okay?" "Elijah, yeah, I left my inhaler in your car, but it's okay, I have my backup one. Love you." A tightness formed in Barron's chest. He knew what it was like to have busy parents, but his family had always ensured he was cared for. Michael, however, didn't have that luxury. He was doing it alone, every second away from his son, a sacrifice. "You have a kid?" Barron asked casually. Michael hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, Elijah. He's 6. Barron saw the quiet pride in Michael's face, mixed with the weight of responsibility. "Does he get to see you much?" Michael sighed, tucking his phone away. "Not as much as I'd like. By the time I get home, he's getting ready for school. By the time he's back, I'm trying to sleep before my next shift." Barron frowned. Here was a man working in a place where guests spent thousands a night, yet he struggled just to provide for his son. For the first time, Barron felt something deeper than curiosity, a sense of responsibility. He couldn't just walk away from this. He had to do something, and he would. As Barron sat in the lounge of the Grand Manhattan Hotel, his mind buzzed with thoughts about Michael Carter. He had seen hard-working people before, but something about Michael's situation felt different. It felt unfair. This was a man who spent his nights making sure wealthy guests were comfortable, yet he barely had enough time to see his own 6-year-old son. Barron had been raised in a world of privilege, but his parents had always taught him that privilege should be used responsibly. His mother, Melania, often reminded him to pay attention to the people who worked behind the scenes, the ones who made everything possible but were rarely acknowledged. He knew he couldn't solve all of Michael's problems, but there had to be something he could do. That night, after watching Michael wrap up his shift at 4 a.m., Barron sat down in his suite and began forming a plan. Barron needed more information. He had already observed Michael's exhaustion, the long hours, and the way his eyes softened whenever he mentioned his son, but he needed to know exactly what Michael was facing before he could figure out how to help. The next evening, Barron waited near the concierge desk under the pretense of needing recommendations for a late-night meal. As Michael gave him a list of restaurants, Barron casually asked, "How long have you worked here?" Michael smiled, though his exhaustion was evident. "About 7 years, started out as a bellhop, worked my way up to concierge." "And you work nights?" Barron continued. Michael nodded. "Yeah, better pay. Not great, but enough to keep things steady. And it means I can be home during the day, even if I don't get much sleep." That last part stuck with Barron, not getting much sleep. He wasn't just working late hours, he was sacrificing his health to keep things running at home. Barron wasn't naive. He had resources, but he couldn't just buy a house or erase someone's struggles overnight. That wasn't how real change worked. So he decided to do something smarter. He called his mother, Melania, first. "Mom, I need your help with something." Melania listened patiently as Barron explained what he had observed. He told her about Michael's long shifts, about how he barely had time to be with his son, and about the toll it was taking on him. When he finished, Melania was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You have a kind heart, Barron. But what exactly do you want to do?" Barron exhaled. "I want to help him. I don't know how yet, but I can't just sit here knowing someone works this hard and still struggles. I was thinking, maybe we can get him into a better position? A daytime job? Something that pays more so he doesn't have to work nights?" Melania considered it. That's a good start, but if you really want to help, you need to make sure this is what he wants, not just what you think he needs. Barron nodded. His mother was right. This couldn't just be a grand gesture. It had to be a real solution. The next morning, Barron reached out to the hotel's general manager, a man named Mr. Calloway. He had met him before. Calloway had been nothing but professional, but Barron had also noticed how much he valued the hotel's reputation. When Barron requested a meeting, Calloway agreed immediately. "Of course, Barron. What can I do for you?" Barron didn't waste time. "I want to talk about Michael Carter." Calloway blinked. "Michael, the night concierge?" "Yes," Barron said. "I've watched him work and I've seen how much he gives to this place. He deserves more." Calloway folded his hands on his desk. "He's a great employee, one of the best. But what exactly are you suggesting?" Barron leaned forward. "I want to know if there's a better position for him, one that lets him be home for his kid more often, one that actually matches how hard he works." Calloway hesitated. "Those decisions aren't simple, Barron. We have policies, seniority structures." Barron raised an eyebrow. "This hotel prides itself on taking care of its people, right?" Calloway sighed. "Of course." "Then let's take care of one of the best," Barron said. Later that night, Barron approached Michael again. This time he was direct. "I have something for you," Barron said, handing Michael a folded letter. Michael frowned but took it. As he opened it, his eyes widened. It was a promotion offer, one that would move him to a daytime managerial position with higher pay and fewer hours. Michael looked up, stunned. "What is this?" Barron smiled. "A chance. You deserve it." Michael's throat tightened. I don't know what to say." "Say yes," Barron said simply. Michael swallowed hard, his emotions barely contained. He had worked for years, accepting that his life would always be a struggle, that he'd have to sacrifice time with his son just to get by, and now, someone had seen him, really seen him. He nodded slowly, his voice thick. "Yes, thank you." Barron grinned. "Good. Now go home and get some sleep." For the first time in years, Michael could. And for the first time in his life, Barron realized just how powerful one act of kindness could be. Barron knew that giving Michael a promotion was already a big step, but he wanted to make the moment even more meaningful. A simple letter was one thing, but a celebration, one that involved everyone who had seen Michael's dedication, would show him just how valued he truly was. If there was one thing Barron had learned from his mother, it was that gestures meant more when they were shared by a community. So Barron got to work. The first person he approached was Lisa Thompson, the head of housekeeping. Lisa had worked at the Grand Manhattan Hotel for over a decade, and if anyone knew how much Michael meant to the staff, it was her. Barron found her in the staff lounge, taking a quick break between shifts. "Lisa, can I talk to you for a second?" Barron asked. She wiped her hands on a towel and looked up, smiling. "Of course, Barron. What's on your mind?" He sat down across from her, hands clasped. "I have an idea. Michael just got a promotion, but I don't want it to just be a piece of paper. I want the entire staff to be a part of the moment, to show him how much we all appreciate what he does." Lisa's eyes lit up. "You mean, like a celebration?" "Exactly," Barron nodded. "Something special, something that makes him realize he's not just a worker here, he's family." Lisa grinned. "You're a smart kid, you know that? Michael deserves this. I've seen him pull double shifts, cover for people when they were sick, and never once complain. He's the kind of guy who remembers everyone's name, asks how your kids are doing, and stays late to help the kitchen staff when they're overwhelmed. You tell me what you need and I'll get every single person here involved." With Lisa's support, the plan quickly gained momentum. Lisa spread the word among the housekeeping staff while Barron spoke to the bellhops, receptionists, and kitchen workers. Within a few hours, nearly every department had agreed to participate. Some offered to decorate the staff lounge, while others pooled together a collection for a personal gift. A watch, engraved with the words, "Thank you for everything, Michael." Barron also reached out to Mr. Calloway, the hotel's general manager, who had been instrumental in approving Michael's promotion. Calloway, though usually formal and reserved, was surprisingly enthusiastic. "A surprise celebration? I love it! Michael is one of our best employees, he deserves this." Even the executive chef offered to contribute, promising to prepare a gourmet meal for the event. He spent years watching people eat five-star meals without ever having the chance to sit down and enjoy one himself, the chef said. That changes now. After coordinating with Michael's shift schedule, they decided the best time for the surprise would be at the end of his shift, right before the morning staff came in. That way he wouldn't suspect anything, and it would be the perfect way to end his final night shift before moving to his new position. The plan was simple. At 4:30 a.m., Lisa would ask Michael to meet her in the staff lounge for a quick meeting. Meanwhile, the entire staff, housekeeping, front desk workers, kitchen staff, bellhops, even maintenance, would gather, waiting for him. The moment he walked in, the lights would come on, revealing the decorations, the cake, and the entire team clapping and cheering. Barron could already imagine the look on Michael's face, and it made the late nights of planning completely worth it. As the final preparations fell into place, Barron took a moment to step back and watch as the hotel staff came together for one of their own. He wasn't just organizing a surprise, he was helping create a moment that Michael would never forget. The quiet hum of the hotel's early morning routine filled the hallways of the Grand Manhattan Hotel as the final minutes of Michael's last night shift ticked away. It had been an ordinary night for him, checking in late guests, handling last-minute concierge requests, and ensuring the lobby remained in pristine condition. At 4:30 a.m., just as planned, Lisa approached him. "Michael, could you come with me to the staff lounge for a second?" she asked, her tone casual but warm. Michael, tired but always professional, nodded and set down his clipboard. "Of course. Something wrong?" Lisa shook her head. "No, nothing like that. Just a quick meeting before your shift ends." Unaware of the surprise awaiting him, Michael followed Lisa down the hallway, completely unsuspecting. As they neared the lounge, Barron stood behind the door, watching with excitement. He could feel the electric anticipation in the room, the quiet whispers and muffled giggles as nearly the entire staff stood waiting, some holding their phones up to record the moment, others clutching balloons and confetti poppers. Michael placed his hand on the door handle and pushed it open. The lights flicked on. "Congratulations, Michael." The roar of applause filled the room as Michael froze in place, his eyes widening in shock. For the first time in years, Michael was speechless. His eyes darted around the room, taking in the decorations, the huge banner that read, "Thank you, Michael," and the warm, genuine faces of his colleagues. A wave of emotion hit him as he realized what was happening. This wasn't just a staff gathering. It was for him. Lisa stepped forward, grinning. "Michael, you've been with this hotel for a long time and you've never once asked for recognition, but today, we're making sure you know just how much you mean to all of us." Michael chuckled nervously, rubbing the back of his neck. I don't know what to say," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. Before he could process any further, Barron stepped forward, holding an envelope in his hand. "Michael," Barron began, his voice steady but full of sincerity. "From the moment I got here, I noticed how much you care. Not just about your job, but about everyone in this building. You always put others before yourself, even when no one's watching. You've made a difference in more lives than you probably realize." Michael blinked, his throat tightening as the entire room fell silent, hanging onto Barron's words. "I wanted to do something to show you how much we appreciate you," Barron continued. "So, with the help of Mr. Calloway and the rest of the team, I'm proud to officially announce—" He handed Michael the envelope. "You've been promoted to senior concierge." A collective gasp filled the room, followed by a thunderous wave of applause. Michael stared at the envelope in disbelief, his hands slightly shaking as he took it. He swallowed hard, blinking rapidly, as the weight of what Barron had just said sank in. "You," he started, then stopped, clearing his throat. "You're serious?" Barron grinned, nodding. "Completely." Michael slowly opened the envelope, his eyes scanning the official letter confirming his promotion. For a moment he just stared at it, his fingers gripping the paper as years of hard work and dedication flashed through his mind. The long nights, the sacrifices, the moments of doubt where he wondered if anyone even noticed his effort. And now, standing before a room full of people who cared, he realized something he had never let himself believe before. He mattered. Tears welled in his eyes as he looked back up at Barron, his voice breaking. I don't know what to say. This means more than you can ever imagine." Lisa patted his shoulder, her own eyes glistening. "You deserve this, Michael." The applause continued as the surprises weren't over yet. Lisa gestured toward the executive chef, who walked forward carrying a covered tray. With a dramatic flourish, he lifted the lid to reveal a gourmet breakfast feast, complete with fluffy pancakes, sizzling bacon, fresh fruit, and a steaming cup of Michael's favorite coffee. "You've spent years serving others," the chef said, "so today, we're serving you." The crowd cheered again, and Michael let out a choked laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. "But wait," Barron added, "there's one more thing." Lisa handed Michael a small box. Confused but still overwhelmed, he opened it to find a sleek, engraved wristwatch with the words, "Thank you for everything, Michael." At that, the first tear fell. Michael let out a deep, shaky breath, his voice breaking as he laughed through the emotion. "You guys are gonna make me cry," he admitted, wiping his face. Barron stepped forward and extended his hand. "Thank you for everything you do. This place wouldn't be the same without you." Michael gripped Barron's hand firmly, shaking it before pulling him into a quick hug, a rare but genuine display of gratitude. The room erupted into celebration as people hugged Michael, clapped him on the back, and congratulated him. Even Mr. Calloway, the usually reserved manager, gave him an approving nod. For Michael, this was more than a promotion. It was validation, a reminder that his years of effort had not been in vain. It was proof that kindness, dedication, and quiet hard work never go unnoticed. As the party continued and laughter filled the room, Michael finally allowed himself to breathe, not just because of the promotion, but because, for the first time in a long time, he felt truly seen. And as Barron watched the scene unfold, he knew one thing for certain: this was a moment neither of them would ever forget. As the celebration buzzed around him, Michael Carter stepped away, needing a moment to process everything. He walked to the staff lounge window, gazing at the dimly lit Manhattan skyline, the early morning light just beginning to break through. His reflection in the glass looked the same, yet something felt different, like he was seeing himself in a new way. For years he had worked tirelessly behind the scenes, believing his efforts were just a small, unnoticed part of the massive machine that kept the Grand Manhattan Hotel running. He took pride in his job, but he had accepted that he was there to serve, not to be seen. Wealthy guests came and went, powerful figures occupied the suites, and he remained in the background, ensuring their experience was flawless. But tonight changed everything. The weight of the engraved watch on his wrist, the promotion letter in his pocket, and the lingering echoes of applause told him one undeniable truth: he wasn't invisible. He thought back to the countless nights he had gone beyond his duties, helping guests in ways big and small. He had never done it for recognition, but now he realized something profound. People had noticed. Barron Trump had noticed. The hotel staff had noticed. And today, they had shown him just how much he mattered. Michael chuckled under his breath. Unbelievable. As if reading his thoughts, Barron quietly approached and stood beside him, both of them looking out at the city. "Pretty crazy, huh?" Barron said with a small smile. Michael exhaled, nodding. "You could say that." After a moment of silence, Michael turned to him. "Why me?" he asked softly. "I mean, I appreciate this more than I can say, but there are a lot of people here who work just as hard." Barron thought for a second before replying. "Because you care. You don't just do your job. You make people feel welcome. You made an impact on me, Michael. And if I noticed, I figured a lot of other people did too." Michael swallowed the lump in his throat. He had always believed kindness was just part of the job, but now he saw it differently. The way you treated people, whether they were VIPs or just someone walking through the lobby, left a mark. Michael nodded, offering his hand. Well, I guess I owe you a thank you. Barron shook it firmly. No, he said with a grin, we owe you one. And for the first time in a long time, Michael felt truly seen. In the days after the surprise event, something remarkable happened at the Grand Manhattan Hotel. What had begun as a single act of appreciation for Michael Carter turned into a movement of kindness that spread through the entire staff and beyond. Employees who had once focused only on their tasks began recognizing each other's contributions. Bellhops left thank you notes for housekeeping, acknowledging their behind-the-scenes efforts. Chefs started preparing complimentary meals for late-shift workers. Front desk clerks shared stories about guests who had touched their lives, bringing a new warmth to their interactions. It was as if Michael's story had sparked something, a realization that no act of kindness is too small to matter. Michael himself felt the change. He had always believed in working hard without expecting recognition, but now he understood how powerful it was to acknowledge someone's efforts, to remind them that they were seen, that they mattered. One afternoon, as Michael set up the concierge desk, a young employee named Lucas hesitated before approaching him. "Michael, can I talk to you?" Lucas asked nervously. Michael smiled. "Of course, what's on your mind?" Lucas hesitated. "I've only been here a few months, and I was starting to think maybe I wasn't good enough for this job, but after what happened to you, the way everyone came together, it made me realize something." Michael waited as Lucas took a deep breath. "People notice the little things," he continued, "and I want to be someone who makes a difference, like you do." A wave of pride surged through Michael, not just for himself, but for the shift happening around him. He clapped Lucas on the shoulder. "You already are," Michael assured him. "Just keep treating people the way you'd want to be treated. That's what really matters." Lucas nodded, his confidence growing. But the ripple effect didn't stop there. Staff members shared the story online, and guests who had witnessed the moment posted about it on social media. Soon, Barron Trump's quiet act of generosity was inspiring people far beyond the hotel. A boutique hotel chain in Los Angeles launched an employee appreciation initiative. A restaurant in Chicago started a recognition program for its staff. Individuals began reevaluating their workplaces, realizing how much a simple thank you could mean. Michael never expected that one night of gratitude would create such an impact, but as he watched these changes unfold, he knew one thing for certain: kindness is contagious. It wasn't about expensive gifts or grand gestures, it was about truly seeing people, valuing them, and reminding them that they mattered. And in that realization, Michael found something greater than any promotion or applause. He had become part of something bigger, a legacy of kindness that would continue long after the celebration ended. The story of Michael Carter and Barron Trump teaches a powerful lesson. Kindness, recognition, and gratitude can create ripples far beyond what we imagine. Hard work often goes unnoticed, but when someone takes the time to acknowledge it, it can change lives. True generosity isn't just about grand gestures. It's about seeing people, valuing them, and reminding them that their contributions matter. This story proves that small acts of appreciation can inspire a culture of respect, uplifting not just one person but an entire community. In the end, kindness is contagious, and the impact of a single good deed can be limitless.